This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today we're going to go a little bit stoic. Go stoic for your wares. We're going to go through a quote from Epictetus. I think it was shared on the Daily Stoic Instagram page just recently. I saw it flash up, and I actually have a feeling I might have talked about this particular quote like in my first 100 episodes at some point. Either way, we're going to go through it again and share some messages from it and hopefully see if some of it lands for you. And if it doesn't, then well, it just doesn't. Hey. So, Epictetus is quoted on saying, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone." And so, I find I get some enjoyment out of this because I see the cheekiness in it, right? The cheekiness is simply laying in this aspect of like, well, we all have faults. They're my faults, but if he truly knew me, then he would know my other faults, but he hasn't mentioned them. Therefore, he doesn't know me. You know, what it could also be doing is simply having a go at him of like, we all have faults, and clearly this person isn't aware or paying attention to theirs. Because that's one of the crucial things in this message, right, is that when we continually just the judgment of other people, as long as we're judging someone else, we can't pay attention to ourselves. And more often than not, when we judge somebody else, what we're doing is judging ourselves. We don't care if people act in a particular way, if it has nothing to do with us or we can't relate to it whatsoever at all. More often than not, the shadow part of our personality, the darker part of our personality, will get angry when people act in a particular way where you're possibly acting in your life. And this is, I've talked about it so much, it's like, when we get frustrated, it's a personal opportunity to gain insight into our own life. It's like and the reason being is because we can't. I remember saying this to a client recently, and they kind of just rolled their eyes at me. But this is the reality: is that we can't get angry at someone. We get angry at our experience of them, right? We can't get frustrated at someone. We get frustrated of our experience of them. Because when we can understand that, we separate the person. That means we actually move away from aggression. Because more often than not, aggression is teaching, and when we're aggressive to somebody, we remove their very being. When they're no longer a human, they're just an inanimate object. There's no emotion there, right? But when we can see that it's our experience that we're getting wound up with, and in the face of that person, right? And the frustration isn't in that person because you're experiencing it. You're feeling the frustration on the inside. It's all your frames and meaning structures and everything that's causing the frustration at their behaviors, at their ignorance, whatever it may be, in the face of them, yes, but it's occurring in you. And so this is why it's so dangerous, where it's like there's just triggers. It's like, I get really anxious or I get really frustrated when you do that. Don't do that. And what I'm doing is controlling you and not controlling myself. And controlling myself is significantly harder. That's why it's easy to control you. Don't do that so I don't get frustrated. Right, rather than going, why is that frustrating me? Somebody else, a sovereign human being, is simply attempting to live their life and make decisions on their own path. And there's a part of it that I'm getting frustrated with, and I don't want to deal with my frustration, so I tell them not to do it, so my frustration never shows up. Like, that's not self-mastery, right? That's self-victimization. And the powerful thing behind that is that when we can step back and go, hang on a sec, it's my experience that's creating this. What are the meaning structures and what's my map of reality that's creating this frustration? And do I want to continue doing that? Is it something worth being frustrated about? Like, it's not to say that things shouldn't change in the world, but am I the person that's going to be deciding on how people should act and how people should behave? Because that's a big job. That is a big job for anyone. And so the beautiful thing about simply seeing this quote is seeing the level of acceptance that Epictetus showed in accepting their own faults, accepting their own issues and their own behavioral traits that may be detrimental. And so the beautiful thing behind that for all of us is to be able to step back and go, okay, so what parts of us am I still, what part of me am I still really working on that I can accept rather than hate? And because whatever we resist persists, right? The amount of times I work with someone, they go, fuck, why do I still do that? Why do I fucking keep doing this? It's like, because you keep shaming it. You keep hating it. And as long as you do that, it's going to keep showing up. It's like, you know, it's the accepting and the integration of the parts of our personality that we're learning to live with, learning to accept, because that's really self-love, isn't it? Self-love is just self-acceptance. It's accepting myself as I am today in this moment, so that I know that if I can accept all of myself, I can change all of myself had I want to. But when we reject parts of ourselves, they never change, they never grow up. So we may grow older, but the parts of ourselves that we're rejecting never do. And so there's all these 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50, 60, 70-year-olds walking around with like 15-year-old pain, or like as in a 15-year-old, or maybe an 8-year-old pain. Hey, they're still shaming their own inner child. And so then what happens is that when they have children, they end up shaming them, you know, unconsciously, without realizing that they're actually doing that. And so the powerful thing here for all of us, the powerful thing is just to be able to step back, identify what parts of ourselves we're still really evolving and working on, what parts of ourselves we do really, really well and we're happy with, and we're happy to continue developing for sure. But our potential doesn't just lay in our strengths. If anything, I would argue our potential lays in the areas of our personality and our self, right, our shadow, that are yet to be developed, right? It's not, if I'm really good at order, it's not like really double down on my order that's going to enhance my potential. It's bringing in a certain level, healthy level of chaos that's going to do that, and vice versa, right? If I'm really objective, it's learning to lean into my subjectivity that's going to really allow me to reach my potential and to pursue it, rather than the other way around. And the same with subjectiveness. The more I bring objectivity to my subjectiveness, the more I'm able to truly be able to lean into potential that's mine, and I'm not becoming codependent on someone else for relying on them to take care of my financials, or relying on them to take care of the systems and so forth. It doesn't mean we don't need anyone. Of course, we're just one node in a system of nodes, and together we can always do more. But it's really truly about making sure that we're completely self-aware about what our strengths are, and completely self-aware about where we can 100% definitely improve, so that we can make sure that we do contribute to the world on the actual capacity we do. But we've got to be able to identify the once again, the bullshit, the lies that stops us from being and doing that. And until we can do that, then we'll never truly be able to reach our potential. So that's what this is truly about. It's just Epictetus showing a bit of humility and a bit of self-awareness, saying that, you know, if this person really did know me, then they would have said so much more. You know, maybe they could spend less time trying to judge me, and more time cleaning their own room, so to speak. And in that space is self-awareness, self-mastery, and you know, we want to change the world. And so many people do. They just want to go out there and create big change. Then the biggest change that we can start with is changing ourselves. I'm going to leave it there. Team, thank you very much for tuning in. If you found this podcast beneficial, it would mean the world to me if you'd pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. If you haven't already, then jump on Instagram and find me there at DDNix, or Facebook at Dave Nixon. Same as following us on the continuing the conversation on Mood Prep Online on Facebook. Otherwise, that's it. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unbound.